So all the tunnels going into New York were closed. So there was no access to New York whatsoever. And I remember when we were passing the Capitol, it was lit up in this beautiful white kind of pinkish light. And you could see this big black plume of smoke floating across the middle of the Capitol building. And that must have been the plane that went down at the Pentagon. And I just remember how eerie that was. And just to tell you that we were on a 4 lane highway that was going 4 lanes in each direction. And there was no one on the highway, no one except us at 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was a helicopter following us as we were driving. So we get to Pennsylvania, and the family that the ladies were staying with were right across the river from New York. And I remember standing there and looking, and I could see the smoke coming off the buildings in New York. I could see it. And I was just kind of flabbergasted. And as I was standing there, the lady and her daughters and the family was like, come in here, come in here. So we all came in, and we were sitting in front of the TV trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And then we just all started hugging and crying, because who would have ever thought anybody would have attacked the United States of America? That was unheard of. It was impossible to fathom that someone would attack us, the United States. And so we got on the road, and of course we had to stop and get gas at some little podunk town while we were out there. And I remember that was the day that racism died or paused, because we were all Americans. We were all Americans. We weren't black, we weren't white, we weren't Asians, we were Americans. And that was the day that we all came together as Americans, and we supported one another as Americans. I don't know what the hell has happened to us now, but I hope to God that we don't have to have another serious tragedy like 9/11 before we get our heads out our behinds and start acting like people that have good sense. But anyway, we get to we get back to Midway Airport, and fortunately, the car company did not even charge us to take the car back to Chicago. I get in my car, they get in their car, we turn the car in, we get in our respective cars, we hug, we go our separate ways. We never see each other, we never speak to each other again, never on that day. And so I get in my car, and I'm driving home, and I want to see my mom. That was my only thought. I want to see my mom. And so I drove to my mother's house, and I get out of my car, and I go and I walk up the stairs. And as soon as I touch the stairs of her porch, I get on my knees and I just started bawling uncontrollably, because I was home, I was safe. And I remember when we was in Pennsylvania, no, I'm sorry, when I got into Chicago, I remember watching the news, and I remember Marianne Ahern. She was on Channel 5 at the time, and she was covered in dust and smut. I mean, like in her hair, everything. She hadn't cleaned up, spruced up, anything. And she was on the newscast, and she was talking about the incident because she was in one of the towers. And she said all she remembers is this firefighter pushed her against the wall, and he pressed his body so hard against hers that she could feel his heart beating. And that's when the collapse happened, and he got her out of the building, and then he turned around and went back into the building to save more lives. We don't realize the sacrifice that people make for us. And I think a lot of times we take that for granted, like the right to vote, the right to live where we want to live, the right to be able to speak freely to say what we want to say, whether one person likes it or not. And somehow or another, as Americans, as people, as a nation, as mankind, we have lost our civility. And I hope to God that it doesn't take another tragedy like 9/11 to make us realize that we're just people. Everybody is the same, no matter the color of your skin, the texture of your hair, the religion that you follow. And we really need to stop this hate because we are going to destroy ourselves.